1990, Daughters of Miriam Center, the daycare part of Daughters of Miriam Center, with Jean Cohen, and we're going to spend a few minutes chitty-chatting and finding out all about Jean. Hi, Jean. How are you today?
Hi.
Good. I thought I'd first ask you your birthday. Could you tell us when you were born?
Yes, I was born on Christmas Day, December the 25th, 1908.
1908. So everyone can figure out how old you are.
I was going to say that.
Okay. And could you tell me where you were born?
I was born in the Soviet Lithuania, which was White Russia before. Now it's Poland.
Okay, so you are one of how many children, and where is your placement? Or tell me about that.
My father had 4 children from a previous marriage, and my mother, they were both widowed. My mother had two children, and then together they had 4 children.
Oh my
and
Lord!
I'm one of some of them wandered away, and she only had the youngest of my father's children. The others were on their own.
So they were older then. I mean, when they met, they were older.
Yes.
Do you know how they met? The circus.
Father?
Your father and your mother.
Well, in a small town like Visoka, everybody knew everybody else, and that was no problem.
So they had known each other. Did they know each other prior to meeting?
They did.
For marriage. Were they involved with similar synagogues? Was it were they religious? Is that they meet on those?
Not extremely. No. They were more free thinking. Yeah. And there was so much trouble that they forgot about everything else.
What kind of troubles?
Well, when you have a marriage of that sort, is always things that are troublesome.
Okay.
Because my mother had 2 children from the previous marriage, and an aunt of the children begged my mother she should give her the daughter, the older child. They had no children.
Oh.
And she said she'll always know that you're the mother, and they were going to live near each other. And so she did.
And she did?
Yes.
Oh,
and she grew up in the best schools, in the best clothes. They were well-to-do.
So this aunt,
Yeah.
This aunt. Do you remember this aunt?
Yes.
This is your mother's sister?
The first husband's family.
Oh, so it was a little removed then.
Very much in love with the first husband. Very much. And these were the 2 children that were from the first marriage. So being that she was an aunt, this woman, and well-to-do, and was very anxious, and it was easier for my mother because she had to work.
Yeah. What type of work did your mother do?
I don't know. She was sewing in the house. I think maybe a soldier's uniform, coats or something. I was cheap.
Do you remember that? You remember your mother sewing?
I remember things.
Oh, tell me some of your...
When I was 3 years old.
Really? Tell me. Tell me. What?
After they got married, my parents, he had to make a living, so he moved to a tiny, you can't even call it a village, because their house was the only one for miles around. And it would be like a thoroughfare for people who are traveling. They'd stop off and have something to eat or liquor.
So like an inn?
Besides that, my father was he had a mill,
like a grist mill?
A water mill.
Like with water? Yeah, but what did it... The water, like grist mill for wheat or things like,
So the Gentiles used to come to him to grind their stuff. So in exchange, they would give him things that he needed.
I see.
Certain foods that they grew.
So they bartered, I guess, they exchanged. They exchanged. So it sounds like your father was somewhat prosperous or lived somewhat decently.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say that, sure. And, but my mother wasn't happy there because there was no one to talk to.
Oh.
And the little house was primitive. As a matter of fact, I remember an earthen floor.
Ah.
Nothing to cover it. And it was like like you see Lincoln's cabin.
Yeah.
That's how it was logs, you know.
That,
I remember that.
where did you sleep?
Not funny, that's the part that I don't remember.
Was it like one big room with a fireplace and your mother cooking a...
There was...
Was that
heated, it was heating, there's some sort of oven that heated the place, and you could lay on the another part of the stove. It was very hot, very warm.
Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, now you lived there, and your parents who got married and had been married before, and you said that they were, when they got married, there were how many children? You and...
4, but
Four.
Only 2 remained.
Okay, now where did you fit in? Are you the youngest, the oldest?
I was the oldest, and she's the youngest.
Okay, so you're the oldest, and then there were 2 more, and then a sister that's still
Alive in Florida.
alive in Florida today. Do you remember their names? Could you tell me your siblings? There was you,
There's
Jean.
one close to me, I loved her so. Gitala.
Yes. She was your next sister down.
Right.
And what happened to her? Do you recall?
I don't know. I was too young.
She was too young. She died in childhood?
I didn't know. Yeah, she was.
Gitala.
She was only a little girl.
Okay, then after her?
There was a little boy.
Little boy. And he also, do you remember his name? That's okay.
I don't.
Okay, he also died in childhood.
Yes.
And then your youngest sister, and her name is?
Eva.
Eva.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you were, growing up in this unusual set of circumstances. Tell me your mother's name, your mother's full name.
My mother's name was Zelda.
Zelda.
Yeah.
And Goldman, you said? That was
her
one of
maiden name would be Goldman. Yeah.
Zelda Goldman.
Yeah.
And her married name to your father?
Yeah.
Minoff?
Yeah.
Which is your maiden name?
Right.
Okay, and your father's name?
His first name?
Yeah.
Bora.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you told me earlier about your mother's parents, your grandparents. You told me something interesting about them, that they were divorced,
Yeah.
which was most interesting. Now you're going back like the late 1800s,
Right.
I would imagine. Do you have any recollections of that? Anything you could share with us?
It's very sad when that happens
Sure.
because her parents were outraged.
Sure.
And they had 2 houses instead of giving her one house as a next like dowry for her.
Yeah.
They gave it. There was another sister, and they gave everything to the sister.
So this is your grandmother's sister.
Right.
Because of their parents, your mother's sister, I'm sorry, because of your grandparents'
Yeah.
divorce. Now, you said that your grandmother lived with you for a while.
Always.
Do you remember her name? Do you remember any,
Yes. Her name was Minka.
Minka was
Yeah.
her first name. Could you describe her a little bit? What did she look like?
She was little. I should have
Little?
brought her picture. I have it.
I can always add it on later. She was little,
She was little.
dark hair, light hair.
And my mother was dark.
Your mother was
Very
dark.
because her father was dark. Stately, tall man with hair,
You remember your grandfather
Saw him
too?
once.
You did.
Yeah. Where, well, the reason I saw him, when the war broke out, and we were told that there was going to be a very fierce battle right in the socket. So they advised everybody to get out. A lot of them stayed. But my mother with a bunch of kids packed up and hired a wagon with a driver, and we went to a train. I didn't know what she was going to do. And at the train, we waited, and then there was they put us on a freight train, closed the door, pushed everybody in, and we traveled and traveled and traveled till we got to Russia, deep Russia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, then we embarked and we lived there for about 3 years.
Do you remember where in Russia that was?
Yes.
The name?
One city's name was Gorman.
I thought it, do you know where it was near? Was it near Moscow? Or?
It was kind of far out.
Far out.
And the other one was, I don't forget what happened.
Yeah, isn't it
It's so
interesting?
long ago, but you forget what you had for lunch.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah.
And then you moved to another city in Russia, huh?
Yeah. Because the aunt who had my mother's child went. So when we were in Norway, she sent a soldier to bring us to the town where she was.
I see, 'cause she had money. Yeah,
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. Because they went into business as soon as they came to Russia. They were capable people.
They must have been.
Yeah, Voronezh or Voronezh. That's where we lived.
Do you remember anything about that?
A lot.
Oh, could you share a few of your memories with us? What it was like, your house that you lived
But
in?
it's, it's a child's memory.
Of course, but it's your memory.
Yeah. My mother rented a place and one big room, and you had to have potatoes. That was the step of life. If you didn't have potatoes, forget it. And I slept on the potatoes. She would put a board or something, and then a parent, and we all slept in that one room. And the revolution.
You remember? Oh,
Yes.
oh, tell about that.
As a matter of fact, everybody went to see the parade. And so did I.
What parade?
The revolutionists, the government changed, the Bolsheviks. The government had just changed, and then I started to go to school there.
Okay, now you were speaking Russian at this point?
Very well.
You spoke Russion?
With the children.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had spoken Polish before that?
No.
You always spoke Russian, even when
No.
you spoke?
I picked up Russian. I'm good at languages. I picked up Russian while we lived there a short time.
Oh, so you learned to speak Russian. You went to Russian school?
They had a Yiddish school,
Oh, was it Yiddish?
Which also taught Russian.
Okay, so you spoke Yiddish?
Yeah.
And Russian?
Russian.
And you remember those days in school there?
Yes. A memory that I can't put into words.
Yeah, that's something. Okay, so the revolution, you remember some of these things going on with the revolution?
Oh, yes.
Now, the actual time of the revolution in 1917, when that was the big overthrow and the big changes.
That's the part, yeah. That's it.
How were you affected by them? Or how was your family?
We were scared. We were always scared. I remember till I came to the United States, I was afraid. It just settled into you, and it stayed there till we were out.
Okay.
Because they were wild. They were shooting, and a lot was going on.
You remember that, the shooting,
Sure.
wildness, all the changes.
Well, I was going to tell you something about the school that I don't remember now.
Did you have much of a religious education, Jean? Was it like a cheder that you went to?
My grandmother used to teach children for a living. Yeah. She taught them Hebrew, so I knew all that.
Oh, I see. So you came from a pretty intelligent and intellectual background.
Right.
And
in school, when the revolution took place, and there was such a tumult, the teacher left the class and went away and left us and said, go home. And the street where we would go home through, where was the whole mess, the shooting from one side to the other, and I was in able to take care of myself, always. I walked and walked on other streets, and I came into a place where there were refugees. A lot of the people that left, like us, we were refugees.
Sure.
And then from that place, I came home.
Right, so it was hard living then. I mean, you didn't know from day to day if you were going to make it from school and home.
That's right.
How about living conditions? Did you have enough food?
This woman, my sister's aunt, they had a factory of salami.
Oh.
We had an awful lot of salami.
Right, because those were hard times, the revolution hard times, and Russia was devastated then. Very, very difficult times. Okay, so you're living now in Russia. You're getting a little older, your family. How did you come about coming to the United States?
Well, my father was in the United States.
Oh, well, when he did not go on to Russia?
No.
Okay, so let's back.
He wasn't with us, this whole time.
When you went on
time.
You went on to Russia with your mother and the children.
Yeah.
And your father?
Well, he was in the United States then already.
Oh,
how old was he? Maybe 4 years?
Oh, you were 4 when he came to America?
Yeah.
Under what circumstances? Why did he come to America?
All the men dreamed of going there and making a better living than they could in Russia or Poland.
Uh-huh. So he came with that in mind.
Yes, of course.
And then your mother and you and the children moved on with this aunt to Russia. And how did it come about that you came from Russia to meet up with your father?
We came back to the circuit.
Oh, okay.
And when we were allowed to travel, again in a freight train, I wonder what we ate. I can't remember. The little children, and the train would stop and go and stop and go. It took a few weeks till we got home.
Uh-huh. So you came back to Poland.
Yeah.
You stayed there for a while?
Yeah, for a couple of years.
And you're growing up, I guess you're about 7, 8 now, you're getting a little older.
Being 8 in Russia.
You do?
That's the only time I remember, 8. I thought I was all grown up.
Okay, so you're moving on, and you come back to Poland, you're 9, you're 10.
Mm-hmm.
How is your mother managing? I mean, your father's in the United States.
He would get a little money through.
Oh, he sent some money through. I guess your mother did some sewing, you said?
No, at that time she didn't do it.
No. Okay. Now, how did it come to pass then that you're back in Poland? You're about 10, I guess, or so.
Mm-hmm.
And how did it come to pass that you came to the United States?
Well, he was able to send the tickets. I had to have the money, the big family.
Right.
He didn't make too much of a success here.
You didn't?
No. He was a delicate type of person.
Delicate?
Yeah.
Describe your dad a little bit.
He
What
had
do you look like?
asthma, and smoked an awful lot, and he was good company, very witty.
Oh.
Yeah. So here we were, getting ready to go to the...
So it was you and your mother, and how many of your brothers, step-brothers, sisters, how many of you came over? Could you tell me about that, the coming to America story?
Yeah, that's, it was me and the youngest of my father's children. He was a little older than me. And my sister Eva, the 3.
And your mother?
And my mother. And, let's see. No, that's all.
Where did you leave from?
We came to Warsaw.
Came to Warsaw?
Yeah, we traveled a lot.
Oh, you did? You really got around?
And we stayed there till they had the papers, or I don't know what was necessary. And from there we went to Liverpool.
Liverpool?
Yeah.
So we went up to England?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we crossed the English Channel. And we got on a very big ship. His name was Celtic.
The Celtic?
Celtic.
Celtic. Do you remember what year that was?
When it comes to years,
Well, do you have an idea how old you were?
Oh, I was almost 13.
Okay, so we're talking 1921, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
1922.
Yeah.
Okay.
The end of 1920. Because when
The end of
I
1920. All right.
I remember the Christmas trees
Okay.
on the sidewalks, and I wondered what they were.
Oh, you hadn't seen Christmas trees before. Okay.
No. Lots we haven't seen. Never saw an orange.
No.
Never saw a grapefruit.
Wow.
Never saw a banana.
Where did you see all this?
In Liverpool.
In Liverpool. Okay, that's in England, right?
Yeah.
Before you were ready to. So that must have been a big eye-opener to you,
Yeah.
seeing the new world and what have you. So there you left. You departed from England, and at the end of 1920, when you were about 12 years old. Okay. You would still be going to school, though, or...
I always went to school. And this is very odd. I was so little, and where we lived in the suburb, there were two fellas, grown, but not educated in any way. And they begged me I should teach them what I know.
Yeah.
I felt that I was capable.
Uh-huh.
And I did. And I taught them, and they knew how to write and read Yiddish.
Because you taught them.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What was your favorite subject as a student? You must have been a bright young lady or a bright older lady. What were some of your favorite subjects in school?
I can't say that I had a favorite.
I mean, did you
I
enjoy
liked everything.
history, sciences, mathematics, languages? You said you had a plan for languages. Yeah, you said
Languages.
Okay. Now we're around the boat now. Do you have any recollections of your boat trip across the Atlantic? You were 12. Your mother, your sister, your brother, half-brother, step-brother, whatever.
My brother felt fine, and so did my sister. I was very sick.
You were sick.
And my mother schlepped me up on the deck to see doctors.
Right.
And I was so embarrassed, I remember. I fought her. I didn't want to go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it makes you feel so sad.
Oh, sure. It's too traveling.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to the United States. Were you part of the those that arrived to Ellis Island?
Right.
Because there's so much going on about that now. Just hold on
one little incident that I must tell you.
Okay.
Before we got to Ellis Island,
Uh-huh.
they took us to Hoffman Island.
Where was that?
It's not far.
Oh, the same in New York.
Same area, but people that have to be examined once again or had something that they have to look into.
Right.
They took there. The reason for that was that my sister had the measles in Liverpool,
Oh.
and they had a record of it. And that was a terrible place.
Oh.
Terrible. It was small, water surrounding the whole area, and awful. You couldn't speak or ask anything,
How were you there for a long time?
Not too long.
Probably seemed like it.
They sure did, because we didn't eat. It was awful. What a place that was.
Yeah. Did you see the Statue of Liberty? Everybody you hear stories about people coming in from Europe during these times.
I didn't.
You didn't see the statue?
No.
You have no these grand recollections of, pulling it?
As a child, I was so tired of everything,
Yeah, I guess it was a hectic trip for you. You weren't feeling well.
Right.
Okay, so you came to America. I guess your father, now where had your father settled at this point? Where was he living?
Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
How come he came to Detroit? Was there a reason?
I think maybe one of his sons lived there.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's why.
Okay. So your father must have been quite a bit older then, if you, he had older children by other marriage.
He was.
So he must have been quite a bit older.
And he worked in the Ford.
Oh, he worked in Ford factory. Oh, I see. So you came, did he meet you? Was he here to meet you? How did that work?
That I don't remember.
Okay, so you came...
Because from Ellis Island, they put us on a train.
Yeah.
With tickets.
Yeah. And where'd you go?
We went to Detroit.
Oh, you went right to Detroit then?
Yeah.
I see. So
I
you
don't
came.
remember whether we were mad. Somebody must have met us.
Okay, but somehow you came through Ellis Island,
Yeah.
you went through all that, you got on a train and you headed out to Detroit. Now you got to Detroit, you greeted your father.
Mhm.
You hadn't seen him in a long time, so
I didn't even know him.
no,
None of us did.
right. So you settled in Detroit now with him, your mother, and your brother and sister. Now how was life then? How was that at You didn't speak English, right?
It wasn't very good because the factory laid off most of the people there. So he was out of work.
Uh-huh.
And it was very difficult. Family.
Sure, we were heading in towards the depression. Well, it wasn't quite the depression yet, but in the 20s, into the mid-20s.
Right.
So things were hard then for you in
Yeah.
Detroit.
Yeah. So my father decided a nephew of his was in the restaurant business in Passaic.
Oh.
So he and the nephew went into a partnership.
I see.
And wasn't good either.
No. Was that, he came back then? Your father
We all
came back
Passaic.
to Passaic.
Yeah.
After you spent a few years in Detroit, I guess. Came back to Passaic. Your father's new venture, that didn't work out either.
No.
Now you're growing up, you must be what, about 15 or so. You're learning English?
I went to school.
You get to school
I picked
then.
up the language, but in 9 months I was speaking
Really?
very well.
Oh. Yeah, you do have a flair for languages,
Yeah.
as you said. Now, you came to Passaic,
Yeah.
so you started another life in Passaic,
Mm.
went to school.
Mm.
Your father, that venture didn't work out.
No.
Then what happened at that point?
They tried so many things.
Yeah.
It just
How did you manage to make ends meet?
it was rough.
It was rough. Okay. So you went on through school now. I guess, how far along did you go in school, Jean?
Till I graduated grammar school.
You graduated grammar school.
And then I had to go to work because my mother needed help.
Okay, so I guess you must have been about 14 or 15 or so at that point?
Yeah.
And graduated
Maybe 16.
16. What type of work did you do? No.
My mother believed in to learn a trade. So somebody that we knew was in the millinery line. So he took me into his place, and they were teaching me the line.
So that was hats. So it was a hat, actually making hats and
It's a whole procedure.
yeah,
It's trimming. That's
the trimming parts of hats.
Yeah.
So that's what you started in doing.
Yeah.
And you worked there in a factory in Passaic.
In New York.
In New York.
Yeah.
Oh, so you commuted from Passaic to New York. You lived
About 5 years.
for 5 years. You lived at home with your mother, younger sister, your father, still around, trying to make ends meet.
My father and another family got together also this summer, and they bought a little house in Clifton, and that was nice.
Then you moved to Clifton.
Yeah.
And then you're traveling into New York.
Yeah.
Tell me what your social life is like. What do you do for fun? What were you doing for fun in those years? You're 15, 16, 17, 18, you're a young lady. Did you have a social life?
Well, dances.
Dances.
A lot of clubs.
Clubs.
Yeah. Friends.
You had a lot of
Very
friends.
busy.
You were busy. I would imagine, knowing you as I do,
Yeah.
that you were very social. How about young men?
Oh, yes.
You were dating,
Yeah,
keeping busy, social clubs, what have you.
Yeah.
Working, now you're 20, 21. The depression is coming in.
Yeah. At that time, I got tired of traveling, and I decided to work in a store, millinery store, and that's what I did.
Okay, so you stopped traveling into New York to work, and you started working locally.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, was your family, I know I asked you earlier, but as you're going through this time, was your family involved with any temples? Were they religious at all?
They were not too religious.
Not too religious at all. You don't recall holiday times, Hanukkah,
they
Passover?
observed all the holidays,
Observed.
and would lit the candles on Friday.
Did,
And my mother was more so than my father. You know.
did she keep kosher? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
She did keep kosher.
yeah.
Now, at this point, you mentioned earlier your grandmother lived with you. Did your grandmother come to America? No, she passed away, or
So
and
she was left
she left. She left.
with the son of my mother's son from the first marriage. My father didn't send a ticket for him.
Oh,
He sent a ticket for his son
I see.
that went with it, not for her.
Oh, Oh, so he stayed back, her
He
son?
stayed back. There's so much. I can write
Oh, I can imagine.
a couple of books, not just one.
I know. We're limited for time here, so I'm trying to
I know.
cover as much as possible.
Yeah.
So your mother's,
He was left with a grandmother.
okay, he was left with your grandmother.
Later on, she borrowed money.
Yeah,
If something happened, she had money.
yeah,
Something happened, it's another story, you know.
yeah.
And he came.
He came, so she got money somehow to send, that was her grandson,
That was her son
her son. Okay,
from the first marriage.
okay.
Did you get it?
Yes, yeah, I'm trying to forget, since you have so many threads.
That's right.
So he came over,
Yeah.
but your grandmother never did?
No.
No, okay. All right, so you're a young lady now around town. You're now working in a millinery store in Passaic, did you say? What was the name of the store?
Stewart's. I was manager.
You were
Big
manager.
shot, right, a very big store where Lerman used to be. Do you remember?
No,
Lerman?
I don't know the area too well, but it was in Passaic, Main Street,
Two big windows, very nice.
on the Main Street.
It was a chain.
Uh-huh,
The Passaic had 4 stores by this man.
uh-huh.
There isn't even one now.
Yeah, a lot of times changed. So you're working there.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure you're dating, and there are men going on in your life, fellas. Anything there you'd like to talk about?
I don't know.
Okay, well, how'd you meet your husband? Let's get into that
My
next.
husband always said that he knew me when I was a little girl. He is also from the suburb. I used to be a little dark, skinny girl holding onto my mother's skirt.
Oh.
So that's what he always said.
Oh, so he knew you from your Polish background, from your Polish,
Because he
Russian
came from the
background.
same area that I
Well, how did you meet here? How did you?
The people of the suburb are like brothers and sisters. They cling to each other
I see.
and to our memories.
Uh-huh.
It was a wonderful little town, just wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Very tiny, but interesting and nice.
Uh-huh.
There was even a palace there.
Really?
Yeah,
Palace.
a palace with the most beautiful grounds. And they used to tell me that every summer somebody comes out there to spend the summer.
One of the princes or
Yeah.
of the time, one of the
But during-
aristocrats of the
Yeah,
time.
right. Because I saw it, the place, after the revolution.
Uh-huh.
You were able to go in there and do what you want.
Oh, right.
So the grounds were gorgeous.
Oh.
Place was,
Do you remember the name? The name of the palace?
you know.
Yeah, I bet it's still there today, huh?
Oh,
I bet you it's still standing.
I don't know, unless they built on it or
It's
something.
probably a condominium, right? It's probably a condominium. But it might be interesting to track that down, so that maybe your family would like to track that down.
There's nobody there, no Jews there.
No, I'm saying for traveling back in
I always
time.
dream that someday,
Yeah,
I always dream that someday, I'm gonna go back.
back, yeah.
And look, I spend half of my life in the river. There was a river.
That ran through?
Yeah. And he did everything in the river.
Uh-huh.
We used to cross it and go to the other side, pick flowers, pick shab. You know what shab?
No, what
You
is,
mean it?
no, what is it?
Green grass.
Oh, those
That you
long-
make borscht.
Oh, beets, no.
Not beets. Shab is a green leaf. And you get enough of them.
Yeah.
And you cut them up and
Yeah.
you boil it for a few minutes and you put sour cream in and you got borscht.
Oh, really?
I'm surprised.
Wow, that I've never heard of.
No.
Well, live and learn.
Because they had it here too. I saw it lately out.
So they're like, is it like a scallion?
No,
It's
no.
not like an onion type thing?
It's like just leaves.
Just leaves. Was your mother a good cook, Jean? Was your mother remember your mom and cooking?
My mother was like the women here. She was crazy about cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? Were you a good cook?
Well, I think I do all
You
right.
do it better than your mother, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So you seem to have an awful lot of memories from your childhood and your early days.
Believe me, there's lots more.
Lots.
Lots more.
I know we could go on. We've been talking here for 45 minutes.
Really?
So, yeah, I know time seems to evaporate. But I'd like to know how you kind of reunited with your husband. You said you were children together, but how did you get together here in New Jersey?
I had a brother.
Yeah.
I don't know where they came. He had lots of friends. And all the friends would come to our house. And quite a few of them liked me and would have liked to go further than that.
Of course.
So my husband was a friend of a friend, and we were with soccer. So he came to the house and to the people downstairs in Clifton, and that's how it developed.
Okay, how did he propose? Is there a story there at all?
He always wanted to get married.
He did, huh?
Yeah.
And you?
His life is a story in itself.
We'll have to get part two. We'll have to get
He was 17, I think, when he came.
He was 17 when he came?
There's a lot of...
Was he your age, or was he...
He was about 4 or 5 years old.
Older than you. Yeah. How old were you when you got married? Tell me about...
23.
Okay, do you remember your wedding? What kind of wedding you had?
What wedding?
What wedding?
Yeah.
You didn't have a wedding?
Nah.
Did you have a honeymoon? Everyone seemed to...
What honeymoon?
No honeymoon, no wedding? Everyone seemed to go to Atlantic City, even for a weekend, No, nothing like that. We had a wedding.
We got married.
You got married.
We had an apartment prepared.
And this in Clifton?
Yeah. No,
Passaic?
that's on President Street. There was an apartment.
Where?
It's still there.
And is that Passaic or Passaic? President Street. And so that's where you lived. That was your first home when you were married. Tell me your husband's name.
Philip.
Philip?
Yeah.
Cohen. Okay, and what type of business was he in?
He was a glazier.
Glazier.
Putting glass like in factories and storefronts.
Was it his own business?
No, he worked for Custom. You probably heard that name. I'm surprised.
I'm not a New Jersey person. I live in New Jersey now, but I'm from New York originally, so a lot of these names I'm just not familiar with. Okay, so here you're young married. You're still working in your store.
No.
You stopped working after you got
He
married?
didn't want me to work.
You didn't want you to work.
So I stayed home.
Okay.
And it's very silly. I see now how different it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's much better.
You like it better today, with women working and participating. Yeah, you would have preferred doing that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get up, you get dressed, and you're with people.
Especially when you're bright, like obviously, you got a good head on your shoulder. All right, so you didn't work, your husband was working, and here it is in the Depression now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me when you were married, the day, your anniversary date?
Yeah, in July the 26th.
And what year? July 26th, 1931. Okay, so you were married, Philip is working, and you're staying home being a newlywed, polishing your dishes or whatever, or whatever you did and what have you. Now you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
2.
2. Could you tell me when they were born and their names? And
The older one is Dolores Ellen Bogan,
Dolores Ellen Bogan.
and she's 54. And the second one is Judy Hirschberg, and she's 44.
Oh, so 10 years apart between you girls. Okay. So when your first daughter was born, you were home and doing all the mothering kind of things for the most part. Now, during the Depression, could you tell me about the Depression and how it affected you, your family?
It was a terrible time, terrible. And we got so scared we couldn't pay the rent. We were young, and you had to pay your bills. So my mother suggested that we move me to her house.
So
that was before Dolores came.
Yeah. So you live with your mother.
Yeah.
You had a baby. You're bringing up your daughter, your first daughter. No, before Dolores. Before Dolores, right?
So after a few years, times was getting better, and we decided to try it again, and we moved out, and it was all right.
And then it went on. All right, then time's going on. World War II, were you affected by World War II at all? Was Philip in the Army at all? Or
He was in essential work.
so that didn't affect you directly then, World War II. You're bringing up your children and they're growing up, and time goes on. Okay, I just wanted to concentrate mostly on your earlier years because your daughters will have their own memories, after they were born and they went to school and they can share.
They will enjoy that,
that they can.
They'll always ask me about different things,
Right.
And it's a long story, and I don't want to talk about
Yeah, I know. I just want to have two more questions I want to ask you. One is, as you're thinking back now about all your early memories, is there one thing that is kind of outstanding in your mind now that your mind has been thinking for the last 45 minutes about your background and your early history? You have one particular memory that kind of pops into your head that you might want to share with us?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, because I know you told us a lot.
I did.
A lot of interesting stories.
Maybe someday I'll put it down on paper.
Okay, well, we can add to this. This is going to be ongoing. This is just kind of the beginning. As you think of other things, we could always add on things. But my last question is going to be, if you have any messages to leave your children, your grandchildren, and your family members that are coming after you. Do you have anything you would like to say to them? Any message that you have for your family?
That they do the best they know how. Always the best that they can, so they wouldn't have anything to regret.